Johan, your host for the session, and thank you for tuning in. That's it. If you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. So, for this edition of the Reality Bang, let's talk friendship. And we don't have one, but we have two guests on the show. Please welcome Natania and Johan. We are happy to have you here with us today.
It's good to be back. Hello.
Glad
Yeah,
to
it's
glad to
been
have you
great.
back.
Thank you so much.
Also, I want to wish both of you happy Friendships Day.
Happy Friendship
And
Day.
Friendships Day. Yeah, yeah.
now let's jump right into it. So my very first question is now first I'll be asking Natanya and then Joan can answer. So the very first question is now, how do our friendships reflect on, who we are becoming, at this stage in our lives?
Honestly, for me, I feel like it actually plays a huge part because, who you hang out with or, who you actually make friends with sort of molds you into the person that you become. No
Hmm.
matter how much you would want to disagree as to, how much influence your friends have over you, I
Hmm.
still feel like they do have a pretty big influence on the person that I am. So that's my answer.
Okay, got you. What about you, Johan?
So for me, it's pretty interesting. I think as we get older, now the fact that now that I'm working, I think Johan also will understand. The moment you start working, no, I think the friendship changes a lot. Like college, like when you're studying in college and when you start working, that friendship really starts changing. And I think at this stage in your life when you're just continuously working, like let's say like 9 to 5 is what people are working. On top of that, people are spending at least 2 to 3 hours on traffic, so at least 12 hours of your day is going on your work. And then on top of that, let's say 6 to 7 hours people are sleeping. And you have just those couple of hours in your day and you're just spending that at home now at this point in your life. And I think it becomes very difficult to meet people at this time, at stage of your life. So by meeting your friends, like literally when I was in college, I could like you can just text your friends and in just a couple of minutes, you can hang out with your friends. Now you have to literally message, plan, wait for like a week or two so that we all can meet because one of us will be busy doing one thing or the other. And all these things thumbs up, to how important friendship becomes, because if you're just going to give 24/7 into your work and you don't have that break of your social life, it really, mentally it's very straining. So I think that I don't I think that at least once a week if you meet your friends, at least for me that's important. I've successfully failed in meeting them, my friends, every week, but then we I do try my best in meeting them every week. And we try doing that as much as possible. But at this stage in your life, I think also one of the things is the number of friends that you end up having reduces as you get older. And I don't, there's one thing people are saying that's like a very, it's a refining thing, that you're just, and you're just surrounded by, a bunch of people in your life who actually care about you a lot more. Compared to, it's beyond just hanging out and meeting in person. It's a connection and it's a friendship. So I think, you start understanding that, over the years with such a busy life that you have post work, you have to put an extra effort to make the friendship work. And you start seeing, if all of that happens, how many people are willing to put or not. And I think that, I feel like the moment you start working becomes like, it's like a test for your friendship. That test for friendship begins like at this moment, when you get very busy.
Yeah. Also, the funny thing is, like, I get what you're saying. Sometimes you just feel so exhausted from work, and then you come back home, and it's just very exhausting. You don't have even the energy to just pick up your phone and call people. And if your friends call you, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm very tired. I'll call them back later. Call them back tomorrow, maybe during lunch break or sometime when we are free. But to be honest, that time never actually comes because tomorrow brings its own challenges of the day. To be honest. So yeah, I feel it's like a little bit tough, maintaining friendships when it comes to, once you start working and all, because like in college you get to meet them like every single day, and then suddenly you just go to a time where barely meet them. I mean, last time I met my friends was like maybe 2, 3 months ago, give or take. Yeah, it's quite a while. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Now, are friendships harder to build like as you get older, and why is that anyway?
I, for me, yes, because
Hmm.
I feel like life in itself throws a lot at you, throws a lot of life lessons at you.
Okay.
So because of that, knowing who to trust, knowing who, fits the person that you are becoming, who, sort of molds you into what you aspire to be,
Hmm.
finding that friend is really rare. And
Yeah.
I feel like you have a lot of, you know what you want in a person who's your friend.
Hmm.
And because of that, it could be the good or the bad. And because you have so many rules and regulations, that, oh, I need someone who listens, or I need someone who gets me, or who gets my interest, or who's opposite in my interests. You just have so much to you learn so much through life, that your friendships automatically start taking shape because of that. And so I feel like
Hmm.
it's harder to find people, harder to form bonds based on that, my opinion.
Hmm. Gotcha. What about you, Johan? What do you think?
Well, for me, it does. I mean, the short and the answer is actually yes. It does get difficult when you get older, to make friends. And I don't know, I think my answer is a little bit from different from Nathaniel's, because I feel like the more busier you get in life, I think, you end up and here's the thing, like 2021 is the time where people start, their career, and a lot of them end up giving their 100% into making their job work or making their career work. And we have started this whole thing where people want to hustle, and it's a great thing, they are independently, they want to make their things work. But the thing is that sort of a career that they are trying to go after ends up going through a lot of sacrifice. And one of the biggest sacrifices people end up doing is social. And it's unfortunately, it's not something, sometimes it's not even a decision that they make. Sometimes it's because they're so committed to their, with all the other responsibilities that they have, that it ends up becoming difficult for them to, make those new friends in their life. Which is why, that's why a lot of them end up staying in touch with their college friends, or, with their school friends. Uh, but there are some people, because of the sort of the work they are in, because of how social itself they feel is, they end up meeting people, new people after the other, and they end up becoming like work buddies with them. So in that way they end up meeting people. So I think it really is like it what phase you're in your life, the kind of environment that you're surrounded by in your life. I think that also plays a big role, in how difficult it becomes. Like for example, when you're in school and college, you're surrounded by people the whole day, right? And you're surrounded, so meeting and hanging out with friends and forming a group is very easy. The moment you start working, that ends up becoming very less. When you're working, you're going and you're working and you have to do a particular sort of a thing, and after that you're just tired and you end up going to work and sorry, home. So I think it's just those sort of responsibilities and work that ends up coming into your life that makes it more difficult, I think, day by day, to make more and new friends.
Yeah, I also feel like it's very important, and of course, it gets harder because, like, as you become older in life, it's like you don't need people who are there for the time being, because you just want to build, and you need people, you can trust. You need people who are going to be with you, like through thick and thin, and not just leave at anything. Like anytime it gets difficult, people just leave just like that. And mostly, like, I feel it's very hard to find these people. Of course people are there, but you know they say, like, good people are there at every corner of the world, but unfortunately the earth is round, it's not flat. Yeah, that was kind of a weird funny meme I actually read in, like, about 2 3 days ago. I came across it, and that's what it made me think, like, as we go older, it's very hard to find, like, people who actually stay with you for for good stuff, not for anything else, not for your money, not for your fame, anything like that. They just want to genuinely be with you and genuinely be friends with you for for whatever reasons, for at least a bond you guys share, and that's very important. Now, moving on to the next question. Now, Have you ever lost a close friend, and how did that experience change the way you view friendship in currently?
For me, yes, I did lose a close friend, a very close friend,
Hmm.
and I think it took me a long time to make friends after that
Okay.
because yeah, a lot of healing had to go through. I had to go through a lot of healing to get through to a place where I could socialize with other people
Hmm.
comfortably. But I feel like it's different for different people because some people, just want to they put themselves out there again, and they just want that socialing, that friendship, that closeness with another person.
Hmm.
But for me personally, it was extremely difficult to get into another friendship or make friends after that.
Hmm. What about you, Johan? What's your experience?
I'm, so here's the thing. I think losing friends. I think I spoke about this last time also that we did. Losing friends is a completely normal thing, and I think it's not. We don't lose. There are the close bunch of friends that in our lives that we end up losing. But then in general, if you see, like for example, when we transition from our 10th and we did our 11th and 12th in a different school, we do end up losing all our friends in that gap, right? When we switch, we don't end up becoming good. We don't stay, we are not necessarily close friends with those people that the moment we move to one place to another. So when you move from one place to another, so that's why when school to college and then college to work, I think when you have those transitions in life where those environment keep changing for you, at that time that's where the real test really comes, right? Who are the people in your life that you're genuinely in friends with? So I think at that time, that's when I realized, like after college, how that's why I said they say, right, like after college, the older you get, the lesser friends you have. I think that is because of the sort of friend, that's because of the bond that you have made work. So couple ships with, and those are the people that actually still stay in touch with you, and after college. And unfortunately, the sad part is you end up losing those friends also because of some, whatever issue from that. It takes, and everyone have their own way of healing from it and get, and getting out of it. And I think it's very, for every person it's difficult. There are some people who they bottle it up, they keep it within themselves. And as weird as it may sound, it works for them somehow. They it somehow they like it, they prefer it that way. And the healing process is a lot more difficult who need to go and talk, who need to be out there in public so that they can completely you know just get distracted from that sort of tough situation that's happened in their life, and just distract themselves from that. And they everyone have their own way of healing. And I've also eventually lost a lot of close friends in my life also. And it does get difficult, but I think at one point you realize, when I think I realized, even though I may not be necessarily close to those people, but when I meet those people again, the conversations are pretty much the same with them. I talk to them, it's still the same sort of a bond. It's not weird. And that's when I realized, what, it's okay. I think it's completely fine. Are we close as we, that never changes, that sort of a bond that we have with that person. And I think as long as you, despite not staying in touch, I think for me, at least personally, I feel like if you meet in the same room and it's not awkward, I think it's completely fine, in that way. I think it's, but it does take a lot of time to heal and move on from such a from such a close bond that you do have with people.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, in my case, like I lost two people. I mean, I didn't lose them. It's just like I decided to let them go. In other words, so one was like a dude of 12 years, and another was a dude of 16 years. We have been having friendships with each other as a group, and certain issues happened and all of that, and I decided to let them go because I realized like there's no point in holding things close to you that are going to end up destroying you in the end. Because in life you don't really lose anything, you have everything to gain. You have to go in that kind of an attitude. Only then, like, anything that is lost can be gained. And in that, I may have lost, like, two very long friendships, but in the end I did end up getting, another two other people who, I mean, they're not that long. It's just like maybe a little bit more than a year, I'm guessing. But the way these guys have been there for me, the way these guys have shown their support and helped me out in, like, all aspects of life, that is something the previous guys could never do. Like, if you're talking about comparison, it's like, night and day. It was a whole different feeling as well. So I feel like sometimes, you lose things that you consider important to you, only to gain things that, are really important to you. Not that what you consider important, but they are really important to you. That's what I feel anyway. So moving on to the last question now, what makes a friendship truly strong and long lasting? Nathaniel.
Yeah, trust, I think.
Okay.
Trust is like basic foundation, and communication.
Hmm.
Um, because I honestly feel like it's a little different for girlfriends and guy friends. Uh, because I feel like guy friends have, they can just be like, dude, I have a problem, and you guys solve it like over a game of
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
cricket, whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I think with girls, it's a little bit more complicated, and um, I just feel like to avoid that complication, because see, things happen,
Hmm.
valid. But I feel like trust and communication is a very fundamental role for building a friendship on, for building that strong, lasting bond. To understand that, okay, even if I don't meet you every day, we can talk and things will still be fine.
Hmm.
So, yeah, communication and trust, in my opinion.
Okay, what about you, Johan?
Yeah, so as Nathania said, the first thing is communication. I think the thing is investing in your friendship, I think is the most important thing, and I think, and I really don't like when people tell me that, I was very busy that I couldn't text. Yeah, just tell me you didn't want to text, it is as simple as that. And I feel like if someone, and I think if someone genuinely wants to text, and I'm not talking about someone who has to constantly, message and respond each and every single day. No, 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 I'm not expecting that. The fact, even if you respond maybe like once or twice a day, the whole point is if that other friend is able to see what matters. So I think when you're on the other side where the friend is able to see, that sort of an effort that, that the friend is putting, I think, that's where that bond begins. That's where that trust, that Nathaniel was saying, that trust will begin once that they can see that this person is actually willing to put an effort to make that friendship work. So I think that's I don't know how much Johan can relate to this. I I don't know how. Yeah, I know Johan agrees to it, but that's one thing you really need to appreciate about girl friendships. I think girls are so much more vulnerable and so much more honest to each other compared to a guy friends. And I've at least that's what I have seen. Guys are genuinely not very honest with with other guy friends, in terms of, and they really, that whole thing of guys don't open up and talk their emotions. That is weirdly in a way very true. They don't. They find it. They think I think the ability to empathize with what another friend is going through. I think that's very important. And I think if you don't know how to empathize with what your friend is going through, I think that itself will create like a distraction, not a distraction, sorry, like that itself will be a big block in your friendship to make the friend. If you are not able to understand what okay, you may not be able to understand what the friend is going to, but at least understand the situation and be there for that person. and not make the situation worse for that person by unnecessarily giving your opinions and making it worse for them. But just understand that this is a situation, this is the phase they are in their life, and just be there for them, and and figure out. I think it also depends. There are some friends who don't necessarily need that. I don't know, I think there are some friends who don't want that 24/7 sort of an attention, and they don't want to be socially meeting people at that time. I think they just want to stay away at that time. I don't know how it helps, but it somehow helps some people. For me, it doesn't help. But for some people, but as long as you have a friend who understands that about you, and they understand that this is how you are, and they don't take it the wrong way. And I think that you can see that itself. The fact that despite that a person has taken us going through something, and they haven't responded to this person for like 2 3 weeks, if they were able to understand that situation, I think that itself is very important. So I think communication, and I think your ability to just empathize, I think those are two very important things. Right.
Yeah, that's true actually. For me, I feel like loyalty, as it was touched upon earlier, and confidence in oneself. So when I say confidence in the sense like, I mean like, say anything happens, like both of you are confident that you can solve your issues, put your differences apart, and just make up. Like it could be anything. It could be you guys get into a dispute. It's sometimes it could be small, sometimes it could be big, depending on how frequently you guys fight. But hey, like that's friendship. That's friendship. Like there's no friendship that ever exists without fights. Like I'd be surprised to see this absolutely one friendship that actually exists without fights, but sadly it's not going to be there. And main thing is like you don't have to put that much of effort into people, like in the sense like when I say that, it's like at least put the minimum amount of effort, because nowadays we are seeing friendships fall apart for just absolutely no effort. A lot of ego gets in the way. Like uh personally in guy friendships, like we do have a lot of ego by nature. And you know like I remember reading this story in an article, like huge friendship like just ended up breaking down because of one person had ego. He was like, why should I text? Like why can't he text? It should come from him, it should not come from me. But I was like while reading that, I was like, both of y'all are friends, so you know what, why can't one just let go of the ego and text the other? It's just going to save your friendship. But sadly that doesn't exist, not much anyway. And main thing is like communication. Like say if you had a busy day, if you don't want to talk much, if you are not able to meet up or something like that, just communicate. It's that simple. Take up your phone, send one text, like say, hey, I'm going to be busy for a couple of hours, I'll text you later, or I'm canceling on a meeting today, I have some work, something urgent came up. That's all it takes. You don't have to just keep the person suspended in a loop, and then when the time comes for you guys actually to meet up, and then you're not shown up, and you respond like 2 hours later, like, hey, I'm not able to go, I'm not able to make it. What is that guy gonna think? He's gonna be thinking like, damn, I'm just left here for 2 hours, you wasted my time. So yeah, that creates a lot of issues anyway. So any final thoughts from both of you?
I think overall, I feel like friendships very important part of anyone's life.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think I feel like it's an integral part of growing up, integral part of adulthood, everything. You need a friend.
Hmm.
And I would say if you find that one friend, just hook on, like, don't let that friend go
Hmm.
and put in an effort to keep it going because, don't take friendship for granted, is what I would say.
Yeah.
That's from my side.
What about you, Johan?
I I think I think having that social, sort of a social life, having that friends, having that maintaining that friendship is important. I think to just keep yourself mentally sane in your daily basis, I feel, because when you get busier, it gets much more difficult. So I think having that sort of a friend, that you can go back to and just talk, even if you're having a difficult day at that time talking. So I think if you have that sort of a friend that you can go back to, I think it's always great, that someone will feel that, there is a person that they can just immediately go and talk to once, when it's getting busy, when things are not going great in their life. And when things are getting busier for them, I think that's the time where they, they need their friends more at that time. But there are some situations where people are so busy where they can't end up, meeting those friends. I think, like Nathania said, I think holding on to, I think you shouldn't take it for granted. Even as you get older, those couple of friends, I don't think you should, feel bad that you have lesser friends. The fact that you should be grateful that there are two people who have cared for you instead of those other people who didn't. you know and you should appreciate the fact that even after college, that those people who are not willing to text you, doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just the friendship is, it's just that's the sort of a friendship you had. You met in college, you guys hung out, you didn't necessarily text those people, after going home. But there were some people who were genuinely were staying in touch with, and those are the people you end up staying with touch with in college. And I don't know, this is some weird statistic I read. I think after, like, if you're a friend with someone for like 7 years or something, there's a high chance you can become friends with them forever in their life. I don't know how true is that, but I've seen that in a lot of friendships. But I've also seen friendships, people have been friends for like 10, 12 years and the friendship has broken off. And it is quite surprising. And I think two things is one, don't take for granted those two, three friends that are there in your life. And but I also feel like if you end up losing those friends, I think it'll take a lot of time to get over it, but at least, realize that it's okay. Life, when things move on, I think it's completely fine. Though that you have moved on with your life, that person has moved on with their life. And I think you shouldn't, although you end up getting lesser friends, you shouldn't lose the hope that you may not get a new friend in real life. You may not know what may happen in the future. So I think always be positive about the fact that you can still make new friends in life. It'll get difficult as you get older, but I think staying positive is very important in that way.
Yeah, that's true. And with that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A huge thank you to Johan and Natania for joining today's show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. So remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of fuel power, brought to you by FIBA Online. This is RJ Johan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless.